Oh, Battlefield 5 didn't have the greatest of launches, and it's not really looked at as a great Battlefield game. You know, there was a bunch of controversies when the game released. Even before the game released, there was the steampunk sort of cosmetics, there was the devs coming out pretty much just saying if you don't like the game, don't buy it, which is kind of true anyway. You shouldn't buy a game if you don't like the look of it. But leading up to when the game released, and when the game released, it wasn't perfect. And no Battlefield game is. And a lot of people use that as defense against Battlefield games. Like when I criticized the 2042 beta, a lot of people said, oh, just look at Battlefield 4. When that released, it was rubbish, but you know, X amount of years later, it turned into a good game. But that isn't actually a good defense against DICE and EA. They shouldn't release games that are bad. You know, they should delay games until they're actually, you know, working and not full of bugs and just generally trash. But Battlefield 5, for me, it really nailed one particular thing that it did better than any other Battlefield game. And I'm not talking about the graphics, but the graphics in Battlefield 5 are really good. You know, it had ray tracing reflections all put in it. It looks really good when cranked up to max settings. It's not the destruction, which is probably the best destruction out of all the Battlefield games, maybe very close to Bad Company 2. I really like the fortifications system in Battlefield 5. I think it was some like good groundwork for something they could have really expanded upon in whatever the next Battlefield game was going to be. But in 2042 they just removed it completely. Wasn't the sound design, wasn't gun customization or the gun selection, although 2042 could have taken a page out of Battlefield 5's book for that. But the one thing that Battlefield 5 really nailed for me was the gunplay. And I'm not talking about the time to kill, because we know that they did mess around with the time to kill quite a bit with Battlefield 5. Like, they increased the time to kill, then decreased it, and then increased it again, and I'm not sure where it is at the minute. It's been quite a while since I actually played Battlefield 5. But what I'm talking about is generally the gun handling and the recoil. And with every single Battlefield game that's existed, apart from Battlefield 5, they've used random bullet deviation, or bloom, which pretty much is, so when you're shooting your gun, your bullets won't actually go where you're aiming. They're going to just go randomly around where you're aiming, right? It's a very casual and console-like implementation of gun handling, because while you can fully control any vertical recoil that may be with the gun, your bullets are still just going to randomly spray around where you're shooting. A lot of console games use this because it's more difficult to control vertical recoil on a console while keeping your aim on a target, especially like a moving target. So for bloom, or random bullet deviation, you just need to stop shooting for a little bit to reset the bloom, so your bullets will be more accurate for a few shots. But Battlefield 5 actually uses proper recoil, I would say. I'll call it proper recoil, where your bullet is always going where you're aiming. So you can fully control your gun's recoil if you're good enough, so your bullets will always hit on target. That just made the gunplay in Battlefield 5 feel so damn good and really consistent. With bloom, it's so random because you can be aiming at someone, shooting at them, but the game will just decide that your bullets are gonna miss. That person can turn around and get a lucky bloom and just kill you. While Battlefield 5's implementation, it really rewards player skill. If you can fully control that weapon, you're going to be able to wreck people. But in bloom, if you can fully control what little vertical recoil there's going to be, it's still just random, and that guy you're shooting at could just get a lucky bloom and just kill you really easily. A lot of casual games use the bloom, like I said earlier. A lot of console games use it. There's games like Fortnite that use bloom. Enlisted uses it for its automatic weapons. And yes, even Battlefield 2042 decided to go back to bloom and use that, and well, everyone knows how bad 2042 is, right? I think one of the things that the Battlefield franchise needs to go back on when it releases its next game is the gun handling, and go back to what they did with Battlefield 5, which is the actual recoil instead of bloom. I don't know what the console players think of Battlefield 5's gun handling, because it is completely different to the other Battlefield games, so I'd like to hear from console players in the comments to see what you guys actually think about the gun handling. For me, on PC, yeah, Battlefield 5, definitely the king of gun handling out of the Battlefield franchise. And for me, that just made Battlefield 5 really enjoyable. Well, yes, it's not got the greatest maps. You know, it's missing a lot of, we'll say, memorable World War II locations, like where's Omaha Beach, where's Carentan, where's the Eastern Front. It's missing a lot of stuff, and they did make a bunch of choices in Battlefield, such as the cosmetics, the, we'll say, the hero characters, not limiting the guns to their relevant faction, although it was nice for them to bring in weapons from other forces that weren't really in World War II, like we had a Swedish rifle, I think, and a bunch of others, so that is pretty good there. I'll give them props for that. And with the absolute shit show that 2042 was, Battlefield 5 has been getting like a resurgence on Steam. You know, when it first came out onto Steam in June 2020, it had a max player count of 2,000, and in September last year it hit nearly 90,000. At the moment it's just over 30,000 peak players, which is a huge increase, and that's probably because of all the people that wanted to play 2042, found the game was so bad and they've gone back to Battlefield 5, or maybe some new players are checking out Battlefield 5. If you haven't played Battlefield 5, give it a chance. It's probably really cheap. It is a good, sort of more casual shooter to get into if you like World War II stuff. Me, I'm a big Hell Let Loose player, but Battlefield 5 for me is still a good game just to jump in and play around with. I haven't really played much of the Pacific content, which is what you're seeing right now. But yeah, give it a go. Let me know what you think of Battlefield 5 and its gun handling down in the comments below. Should the next Battlefield use the gun handling from Battlefield 5 or from every other Battlefield game? I'm not talking about time to kill, I'm talking about how it handles the recoil. Give this video a like, subscribe for more, and thank you for watching.